we create new Dungeons and Dragons content live. I see that Matt is already in the chat from Twitter. Hello. So I originally I didn't have anything in particular in mind yet, so I decided to send a Twitch to ask if anybody wanted to make something, and so Matt Foreman and myself had already chatted a little bit about the idea of making a on Twitter about the idea of making a monk subclass because he was really interested in creating one that was all about transformation, like into animal forms. So that's what we're potentially looking at today. That's what I think we are going to make today, because I had asked and didn't get any responses. I had asked 15 minutes before we went live, so it wasn't a lot of time for anybody to really respond. I kind of wished I could have gotten a little bit more feedback, but that's okay because I was already planning on doing this one pretty soon anyway. So Matt, I don't know if you're there in the chat. I haven't seen you say anything yet. You might have gone AFK. But I was thinking a lot about your idea about the transforming into animals. And I was also thinking about an idea I had a while back where it was going to be I had an idea for a monk subclass as well. And it was about transformation. So mine was not going to be about animals. It was going to be different. It was going to be weird. It was going to be like the essence of this or that or what have you. It was going to be really weird. And it probably would have been something that very few people wanted to play. But transforming into animals is a very big, really popular topic, popular idea. This is not, by the way, this is just my template. This is just from my original one. We're going to say, what is it? The Way of the, I believe is how they do. Way of the Beast, perhaps? Way of the, we'll call it Way of the Beast for now. Unless you have a better idea, but seems like a cool idea, especially if it's going to be pulling from beast creatures specifically. So what I was thinking about since then was, so my original, the thing that I did with my, see, this is classes, not subclasses. That's right, I never actually created my subclass specific one, so I'm going to have to delete some of this stuff and just pull from the way the subclasses are formatted. But basically what I had in mind was to have allow you to put your key points into different parts of your body. Like if you put your key point into your fist would get, like almost cartoonishly large. That's my original idea that I had, where you would be channeling your key into specific parts of your body. If you did it into your heart, you may be able to do a sort of metaphysical or like magical effect. If you do it in your lungs, maybe you could breathe fire, for example, or something to that effect. Or just blow really, really powerful gusts of wind. There's that, I think it's called Gust of Wind, or whatever. I think it's called something like that, spell. It's really cool and fairly underutilized. I feel like it's like maybe one time they used it in Critical Role, for example, even though Keyleth had it. Hey, yeah, I see you there. So that was my original idea a long time ago. That was like a year and a half ago or something like that. I wanted to make that, and it was a monk subclass that would just harness the key into different parts of the body to enhance them. And I may still end up doing that as maybe a variant to this one, but I think that if I combine that concept with Matt's wanting to transform into an animal as a monk, then we could potentially get one where you could transform part of your body or all of your body, depending on your choice, depending on dedicating a certain amount of key to your transformation. And we could grant a bunch of really cool effects. Like, for example, you might be able to change your head into a bear head and get a bite attack. You might be able, as an unarmed attack, or you could literally transform your whole body into a bear. You could transform your legs into that of like a cheetah, and we could potentially toy with the idea of like centaur style half transformations versus like minotaur style half transformations or werewolf style half transformations, and then also toy with full blown transformations as well, like a full blown werewolf. I don't want to go basically I wanted to sort of avoid going straight werewolf, especially because I think there is a new subclass of barbarian that I think can transform. That's in Unearthed Arcana. I don't remember how that's doing. If they actually if it's doing well, if people are voting that they like it or not. I don't really recall. Oh yeah, this is still in big view. Let me go into the let me zoom in so you can actually read what's written here. This is all just template stuff for now. So let's see. So it's a class, and I don't know what the name is going to be yet, but we're going to erase all of this because it's a subclass and not a class. We don't need the class features description because all of the subclass is class features. And we don't need equipment or any of that. We just need to go all the way down to the main feature, the individual features. So we don't need that section that said class features. We just need the features themselves. And it's gonna we'll call it Way of the Beast here as well, so that anybody who may hop into watching will instantly know what we're doing here, or have an idea at least right off the bat there. If they know 5th edition and they know monks, they know it's called Way of the whatever. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and save it off. In case you're wondering, it doesn't show up on your screen that I'm saving it. We're going to do that real quick. Homebrew rules, subclasses, Way of the Beast. And that may be changed before I release it because I don't know if that's already been used a lot on DM's Guild. I try to get something that's more original in the name because I don't want to tread ground that already exists. And I have not done research on this one yet, by the way, Matt, or anyone else watching. I have not done research on this one yet. Usually I do research to see if somebody else has already done something. I didn't with my first episode based on the Slayer because I figured someone probably had actually done that one. And it turned out that I was right. There have been a couple of people who have done that, but none of them did it in the way that I did it. So I'm still pretty confident about it as a playable subclass. Anyway, we should get started in actually crafting this thing. So first thing, I need to open up my book over here, or we can go to handy dandy DnDBeyond. But I think we're going to go to, let's see, Monk is right here. I got a little tab stuck to my Monastic traditions. So monastic tradition. It's not a class. It is a monastic tradition. Way of the is correct. So their monastic tradition levels are at 3rd and at 6th. They don't get 2 3rd level ones, which is something that's pretty common. Is that you'll often get 2 at 3rd level, but this is not one of those cases. So because they don't get a lot, it looks like in their traditions seem to the traditions only seem to get 3. Oh wait, 17th level. Sorry, there's one more. 17th level. They get 4 features. I have not made a monk before, so this is going to be interesting for me. I don't, I'm not 100% a master of knowledge on their key points, which is going to also be interesting. But that also means that I'm going to come at it from a direction that is going to probably be very original against what they already have, because I am aware of their subclasses and what they do. I'm just not aware of their individual features fully, which is good. I'm not fully familiar. I'm aware of them, but not fully familiar with all of their subclasses. Which is, I think, going to help me come at this from a direction that no one has seen before. And this whole concept is very unique anyway. So the open hand technique is the way of the open hand, it looks like. And the way of the 4 elements, disciple of the elements, way of the shadow arts. It looks like the first thing that they get is always something that that seems to be their sweeping, most powerful, unique thing about them. That's not always the case, in case you are wondering. For example, the rogues' original things, aside from Arcane Trickster getting spellcasting, most of the rogues' third level spells or features are unique, but not their sweeping thing that defines them as a subclass. So at third level, so what we're going to do here is this is going to immediately grant you the ability to oh, no, wrong. This is immediately going to grant you the ability to focus your ki. Let's see. We're going to say okay, well, I guess they starting at third level, when you choose this tradition. Oh, sorry, no, it's starting when you choose this tradition at third level. Anyway, I like to try and keep the verbs, you know, the verbiage, the wording, to match 5th edition supplements. Anyway, enemy's ki when you harness. Okay, yeah. So the open hand is manipulating your opponent's ki. Way of the Shadow is you can use your ki to duplicate the effects of certain spells as an action. Okay, well, that's boring sounding description. You learn magical disciplines that harness the power of the 4 elements. A discipline requires you to spend ki points each time you use it. Okay, anyway, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to say starting when you choose this tradition at third level, you gain the ability to focus your do they uppercase ki? Nope. I just want to make sure in case they use it as a feature name where they always uppercase feature names, but they do not. So gain the ability to focus your ki into no, we're going to say harness your ki. Harness your ki. Transform your body. We're going to say transform your limbs or body, because here's what I was thinking, is if we make it to where you can transform your entire body into an animal form, it'd be like shape-shifting, like the druid, and it'd be really cool to go into that. It would also be really cool, though, to be able to transform and potentially even mix and match different types of animals. I mean, imagine a bear wolf of some kind, because you're harnessing the power of that. Another direction I was thinking about going would be to use the ki to access different fighting styles that they already have, like the way of the tiger, the way of the mantis, and stuff like that. I'm willing to bet that already exists on DM's Guild, though. Especially something where maybe someone has created a literal list of monastic traditions that are each one the way of the mantis, the way of the tiger, the way of the. If it doesn't, then maybe I'll jump on that, because that is an opportunity to create something that would probably sell, and also be very popular, I think, because it would just be cool to have people using your supplements. So, excuse me. You gain the ability to harness your ki to transform your limbs or body. Oh, we have not specified. Into bestial form. Now, it would have been smart of me to go and watch a bunch of TV shows and movies that involve this sort of concept ahead of time to get a lot of inspiration. But since that's not the case, I am aware of them. For example, what is it called? Farscape, I believe, is the name of it, where they could transform their body parts. And of course, there's what was that one? Animorphs. People like to make fun of that one online. I did not really watch it as a kid. But here we go. Okay. Let's see. You can spend. Okay, what is the ki economy? I need to see how much ki you actually have as a monk, because that is something I am not 100% familiar with. It's equal to your level. Good. You don't have any key points at first level, so I guess you don't get key until then, which is fine because monastic tradition is 3rd level. But when you get it, you have 3 points. So what I am thinking about is when you gain, I'm thinking of gaining the ability to turn into to mix and match body parts might be something later, because we might grant some kind of we might make them unique against each other. We'll see how we can do that. And this is very much in planning stage at the very beginning. It almost takes me 30 minutes to plan usually before I get much in here, in case you're wondering. But it's a lot of talking, but it's good. So okay. So what kind of economy do we have? We've got normally. What are the things you usually buy with your key? Flurry of Blows is 1 key point, Patient Defense is 1, and Step of the Wind is 1. So transforming one part of your body should be 1, definitely. Like if you're only transforming your arm into, you know, a polar bear's paw or arm, and you're going to kill somebody with your bare hands, then you're going to want to have it should only cost 1. You can spend 1 key point to transform a limb or a single body part to match that of a beast you have you are aware, yeah, you have seen. Now that would be the simplest way to say it. I would like it to be something where you have to study it ahead of time and learn the ways of the bear to be able to harness the power of the bear. And maybe we can do that where you spend key points to study and gain its essence. You have to touch it and gain its essence. And that would be really cool. It depends on how powerful this effect becomes. If it becomes too powerful, we can make that be a cost you have to build up and collect animal abilities. But some campaigns won't have animals. You'll be in the Underdark the whole time, and the closest thing to an animal you're going to get to do, you're going to be able to pull from, I believe, would be something like a crab underground. They have some some animals underground, but not very many. So I don't know that that's a super awesome idea completely, but in those cases, you could have we could have it to where if there you could harness it from a person or from the animal itself, pull it drawing from its key, or we can have you study the animal perhaps. If you have a book about that animal, then you could potentially gain it. That's just something we may pull out later. That's a balancing act we're going to do if we have to, after looking at some beast. And we also have to look at, because I don't know if I want to limit it to CR level, because that may be the unique thing about this. Druids are limited by CR level. If we could find a way to not limit it by CR level, to only maybe limit the full transformation by CR level, but maybe not limit the individual body parts by CR level. It may even be something along the lines of your body, like your torso, your arms, an arm, a leg, or a head are the things you can transform. In which case, fully transforming into a beast would just take, 5, 6 key points in that case. So, we can look at that as a possibility. But yeah, so beast you have seen. We could say a beast you are familiar with. Now that way later on we won't have to reword that, and it'll be pretty straightforward. Familiar with is the same as seen, I suppose. You just have to be aware that it exists and be completely familiar with it, so you could study it in a book or what have you. And that way, if you're in the Underdark for an entire campaign, yeah. But anyway, we're just making it open up to be available for anybody to play at any time in any campaign with that. And by the way, Matt, if you come in and you're looking at this and you're like, this is nothing at all of what I was looking for, this is nothing like what I wanted to do, then please let me know, because I do want to. I'm actually going to say that in chat because you said you're lurking at it, so you may come back, may come not. So I'm going to send that in chat to make sure that whenever you come back, it's written up. and that is yeah. Please let me know. So yeah, I said, hey Matt, if you're watching and think this is nothing like what you were envisioning, please let me know. I know I'll have unique elements from your dream, but I still want to make this something you would enjoy playing. So yeah, you can spin one key point to transform a single body part to match that of a beast you are familiar with. Um, doing so grants you grants you abilities based on the creature's features. I'm gonna say the beast's features. Beast features. And this is where we will go into a sort of table like they've got here for the open hand technique, where it's got little instructions on how to deal with things. Where it's a little one of these little bullet point setup. So we're gonna make it move back. We don't want it that far forward. We actually want it all the way back, according to 5th edition. You know, setup. Taking on the head grants the sensory abilities of the creature. And features. Oop. Take on the head grants the sensory abilities and features of the creature, as well as any bite or horn attacks. Taking on the arm or leg grants any claw attacks. We're going to say the arm grants claw attacks. And let's see. And sort of combat features or grasping features, maybe. I'm trying to think of the actual features. Like if you take on, like the original idea was there's a picture or there's a GIF online, or a GIF, or however you want to call it, a GIF. GIF. I think was one of the ancient Greek pronunciations or some weird thing like that I saw online. Anyway. And it was it had a person standing there and a bunch of dogs around it, and one of the dogs ran up the person's leg and up their body and sort of like did a backflip off of them and then ran off. It was really cool. And that was where Matt was like, man, I want a monk that can transform into an animal. So notice these are granting these things, these abilities and features. It's not at all removing your other abilities. So that's another thing that's sort of different from polymorph and different from the druid, is that the druid, it says you take on the thing and you use their stats. We're just granting abilities and features. So what we might do is we can actually that means the sensory abilities means like you're seeing like them, like you have their senses. We might have to reword that to be more specific, but that's what we're going to call it for now. Taking on the arm grants claw attacks, and I want to do something to the effect of like climbing, definitely climbing abilities. But I think this would be skill, um, and skill modifiers associated with, and we're gonna say athletics, dexterity. Oh, those are two different things. Strength, dexterity. Actually, that might work. Oh, strength and dexterity. I don't think we need to worry about anything else there. Taking on the arm grants claw attacks and cool. Thanks. Taking on the arm grants claw attacks and skill modifiers associated with strength. And in case anyone's watching this on YouTube, Matt just came in and said, "I think you're doing fine." So yeah. Taking on the leg grants. We're gonna say we're also gonna give dexterity, but not well. So we need to specify a difference between these two, and I think the movement speed is going to be one of them. Movement speed. Or speeds. And so we could do claw attack for the legs as well. We may have to expand that, by the way, not just claw attacks. We might just say all attacks. Grants access to or grants the beasts we can say I would say the beast attacks, but like for example, okay, octopus is a beast in D&D. So is a quipper. So if you want to take on one of these forms and become, they do like restrictions on swim speed and stuff like that for druids, but they have access to spells, and monks don't. And this is the monk magic. So if the monks are spending their key points doing this, we can grant more power than a normal transformation of a druid in this transformation, because druids are like, yeah, I'm a beast, I'm not taking any damage. This is another thing. You're taking damage to your hit points in this case because you're only transforming your arm. There's no reason your wolf form should take damage and then it spills over to you. So basically, what was I looking for? I was looking toward the end of the book. I was flipping through the book a second ago while I was talking, and I forgot what I was looking for, but I'm looking for the animals at the back. So let's say, okay, panther is a claw and a bite. See, okay, so pseudo dragon, that is a sting. That's a dragon now. That is not a beast. Let's see, rat is a beast. Raven is a beast, and it has a beak attack. See, so that's the other thing. Grant sensory abilities and features of the creature as well as any bite. We gotta say beak, or horn attacks. We may need to list that. We might need to increase that to even larger as well. But like, so yeah. Okay. So what we can do is we can actually make it to where if you take on, like, okay, I'm looking at the panther and it has pounce. Now that would require you to be able to leap like a panther as well as like tackle as a panther and sort of do the claws and all that kind of stuff. So that may require both like the legs and the arms. We might look at these features that you'd be gaining, like mimicry for the raven, or mimicry, or however you pronounce that, and keen smell are both things that would make sense to gain, or of the rat, or things that would make sense to gain whenever you take on the head, because you gain its muscles in its mouth and its ability to mimic those sounds. But pack tactics of a reef shark or a wolf requires something else, like in water breathing. It requires something else. Pack tactics might actually be something you gain with the head. Water breathing might be something that you gain with the torso. Being able to breathe water is something that I think your lungs would have to transform. So looking at all these different things. Let's see: tiger, keen smell, pounce, warhorse, trampling charge, hooves, keen hearing and smell, pack tactics, bites, undead. Okay, that's zombie. Undead 42. The wolf was pack tactics and bites. So owl, keen hearing and sight, flyby, talons. Oh, and that's another thing. Wings are going to be interesting. Your arms can turn into wings. So, keen hearing and smell, beast of burden, sure-footed, running leap. So looking at all of these different features, we have to figure out how we're going to word this. It may end up having to flip around where it's about choosing a feature rather than choosing a body part and then gaining all of the features associated with it. But I feel like maybe the head could easily gain everything associated with it. The arm could, and the legs could, and maybe the torso is where you gain the abilities like the pack tactics and water breathing and stuff. Even though that seems like pack tactics should be head. Maybe, let's see. We could specify pack tactics in the head section. Magic resistance for the Quasit, that's a fiend. That doesn't matter. Hawk, keen sight, talons, multi-attack, beak, talons, spider climb. And that is another thing is, which will be interesting, is when it comes to like multi-attack. Multi-attack is an action you can take, but it's not an attack. So if we're saying you gain the beast attacks, you're not gaining multi-attack, which is probably good because the monk kind of already gets that, and all of these are considered unarmed weapons. They're not actually. So we need to consider these monk. Let's see. We're gonna go down here and we're gonna say your bestial attacks. All right, well, let's go get the wording for the way the monk does it, because that's still important. Always is. How it words the weapons you get. So we're 30 minutes in. We're actually already creating stuff. So that's actually faster than I normally go at it. That's good. I'm getting better. Flurry of blows, unarmored movement, martial arts. Okay. At first level, martial arts. Okay. In the following benefits while you're unarmed or wielding only monk weapons and you aren't wearing armor. Okay, so it just says your monk weapons and your unarmed strikes. So, your bestial, really? Your bestial attacks are. Oh, you know what it was? It was that one of the ways of it says that something you get is considered it. I'll worry about that later. That's just about wording. I'll go over it with a fine-tooth comb before I release it on DM's Guild and stuff. But yeah, your bestial attacks are considered unarmed strikes because they technically, mechanically would not be. It does not say that those are unarmed strikes on the beast's stat block, so if you gain those attacks, you're not necessarily performing them as unarmed strikes. And whenever a Minotaur has horns, or if you look it up, you'll realize that they do specify that this is an unarmed strike whenever you use your horns. It's an unarmed strike and a weapon. So yeah, your bestial attacks are considered unarmed strikes. For the purposes of your... Oh, well, we shouldn't say otherwise. We should just say unarmed strikes, because there could be other mechanics that would be needs to interact with, and it would make more sense for them to always be considered unarmed strikes. I'm not going to say for the purposes of your martial arts feature. Let's see. So taking on the head grants the sensory abilities and features of the creature, as well as any bite, beak, or horn attacks. So, so that's abilities. That's like we're probably going to change this to be more specific right there. That's going to be something. I could even potentially highlight that in case you're wondering. I'm going to go ahead and highlight that gray and say, hey, come back here and specify there. Because that's going to be something where we go through and actually look at all the sensory features of the different animals, and we say, well, which ones can we just list 2 or 3 things and end up including all of them, so that people are more specific. They understand exactly what it's referring to whenever it says sensory abilities, or instead of saying sensory abilities. So, but otherwise, we would just call it that. But anyway, taking on the arm grants the beast attacks and skill modifiers associated with strength and dexterity. Let's see. You know, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking, should you gain all strength skill modifiers? Because what I was realizing is when we're using only your arms, that would clear it up, because I was thinking that whenever you take on more parts of the body, specifically the torso, maybe you could gain just general strength and dexterity, or well, that would be constitution. Actually, you gain constitution modifiers, including saving throws. Now, these are all low. Beasts usually have really low modifiers in these regards. And if we do open it up to any creature, I'm only looking at the player's handbook right now. The monsters manual has plenty of more creatures. Where's my monsters manual? Is this it? Yep, that's it. Okay. Plenty more beasts in the monsters manual. And is it the monsters manual that has the table by type? Index of stat blocks? No. Was it Xanathar's Guide? One of them has a list of them by type. But anyway. Giant eagle, giant crab, amphibious. Yeah, that would definitely be something the body would have to do. Hold breath, body. Constrict would also be body if you take on the body of a snake. I mean, you could theoretically make that tail or something like that. That's another thing, is growing tails and potentially growing wings. I think that's going to be, there you go. That finally just cleared something up for me. Is what I was wondering what we're going to do later. So we're going to pause this for a bit and go find out what we're going to do later. At 6th level, you gain the ability to grow additional body parts to better match that of the beast whose form you are taking. So that's where, at the beginning, you can't do that. You can only transform your arms into, for example, wings. But at, 6th level, you could theoretically, well, maybe we need to reword this, because I was thinking of limiting it to slowly becoming more like the beast. So like an octopus could have 8 arms, and you need 8 limbs to be able to do that. But what I was now thinking, and I was also thinking the same for like a scorpion having a tail, or a monkey having a tail, or cats gaining a dexterity advantage on dexterity checks, because if you gain that, if you take on a tail, for example, in any case you take on a tail. But yeah, at 6th level, you gain the ability to grow additional body parts. So I was saying to better match that of the beast whose form you are taking. But I also like the idea of eventually being able to grow angel-like wings, so you still maintain your arms. That may be part of the being able to mix and match later. And so it would be a gradual progression at that point. So you would be naturally limited to taking on like werewolfy kind of forms at the beginning, because and potentially other animals that have the same number, quadrupeds and bipeds. You would not be able to take on, and you could take on a bird, but you'd have to, you'd lose your arms and take on wings. You have to grab things with your feet. Back here, but also that's another thing, is being able to like grab things with your feet if you take on a monkey form, or being able to take on, or take on a bird form. That would be interesting to somehow grant, which is not on the stat blocks. We might need, and this would be interesting, is when I release this one to DM's Guild, I might need to create, I don't know that they have any kind of, I've never had to use a monkey in my campaign before, so, or a gorilla or anything like that. So I don't know, let's see, if they have stat blocks for that. I've never even looked for one. And if they do, then it might be that it can hold weapons. Oh, giant ape, here we go. Multi-attack, fist and rock. The ape makes 2 fist attacks. Okay. Or it can throw a rock. I feel like that doesn't... Huh. The elephant is also interesting, that it doesn't have anything to do with its trunk. I've been looking at the animal stat blocks, like the beasts, for a while, and wondering why they feel so limited. Me and my wife have. And I've been wanting to make, we've been talking about the idea of improving things. Specifically, we were talking about familiars. But I'm also looking at, like, elephants should be able to use their trunks to grab things. They do not have any kind of advantage on grappling, or, or being able to throw things with their trunk, or being able to grab a weapon and use it, or something like that. They can't even be trained for that, it looks like. So taking on this form gets you trampling charge, stomp, and gore, and that's it. Giant ape does not allow you to grab things with your feet, for example. And taking on bird legs and wolf claws would be really cool, or just keeping your human hands and wielding weapons in all 4 limbs would be really cool. And I was thinking that if the creature does not move on its turn, it is not using its legs, then if it can wield weapons with its legs, it should be able to make maybe an additional attack, using its talons, or something it's grasping in its leg, in its feet. But that would kind of go also into, like, should you also be able to kick? If you kind of expand that for them, should you be able to kick as a bonus if you don't move? And so maybe it's I don't know. It's going into questionable territory there. That might throw off 5th edition. But I would like the ability to wield weapons with your feet, if nothing else. Like if your hands are occupied, you can use your feet to wield items and weapons, or something to that effect. But anyway, let's see. Gain the ability to grow additional body parts to better match that of the beast whose form you are taking. When you take on, this is at 6th level, so you have 6 key points. When you okay, hold on. When you use your, we haven't named any of this. What is it? So what are we gonna name this here? It would be nice to have a name there, but when we take on, we're just gonna call it class feature 1. When you take on, let's see, a beastie. Oh, I keep on spelling it that way. Bestial form using your class feature 1. We're just gonna bracket that so I know that is not supposed to stay that way, and highlight it. Don't want to overlook that later. When you take on a bestial form using your class feature 1, you can spend an additional key point to grow a number of limbs number of limbs equal to your proficiency modifier. Additional limbs. Okay, now this is not worded well, and immediately I can think of ways this is going to break the game. You can spend an additional key point to grow a number of limbs equal to your proficiency modifier. First off, the way that's worded does not specify they have to be bestial limbs. So bestial limbs would immediately fix that. And also, your proficiency modifier is 2 right now, which means, well, no, hold on, it's 6th level, it's not 2. What is it? 6th level, as a monk, your proficiency bonus is 3. So you could grow a tail and wings. So if you were turning into a beast that had wings, a tail, and 4 limbs, like some kind of, I don't know, what do you call it? What is that creature? Hippogriff, I guess, has a tail technically, so that one works. That wasn't the one I was looking for, but basically hippogriff, and you want to take on the bird tail as well as the wings and then the legs, then I think that is, unless that's a monstrosity, it might be. Anyway, there may not be any creatures that have that unless you can mix and match. Actually, that's a good point. This will only slightly expand your stuff. Let me see what the normal 6th level power level is for monastic traditions. Gain the ability to heal yourself as an action. You can regain hit points equal to 3 times your monk level. You must finish a long rest before you can use this feature again. 3 times your monk level. Wow. That's crazy. That's a 6th level, so you can instantly heal yourself. A lot of hit points, 18 hit points, but you can only do it once per day. So that's like kind of like the fighter's, is it second wind that heals you? Or is that the one that gives you an extra attack action? Or extra action? That's action surge. So this may be a little bit broken the way it's worded, but because you have to stick to the one beast. Actually, we have not said that yet. We haven't actually specified it has to stay to the one beast yet. And then later we were going to open it up and allow you to do more than one. But starting when you choose this tradition at 3rd level, you gain the ability to harness your key point to transform your limbs or body into a bestial form. You can spend 1 key point to transform a single body part to match that of a beast you are familiar with. Let's see. We're going to say the form of one beast you are familiar with. So starting when you choose this tradition at 3rd level, you gain the ability to harness your key to transform your limbs or body into the form of one beast you are familiar with. You can spend 1, we're going to say body parts for now. Your body parts, because we talked about it earlier, and using 6 key points to fully transform into the animal sounds like a good cost for fully transforming into an animal, which means you wouldn't be able to do it until you're 6th level. And until then, you're just like partial transformation, which would be pretty cool because you're going to gain a lot of different features in that case. And I think that whenever we're going to probably grant some kind of additional ability that whenever you do fully transform into a creature, something is going to happen. But we'll see. Your body parts into the form of one beast you're familiar with. You can spend 1 key point to transform a single body part to match that of a beast. Doing so grants you abilities based on the beast's features. We're going to say of the beast. So maybe this is worded in a way that means into the form of one. Yeah, beast you're familiar with. That doesn't really say that it has that you have to choose one, and that's what you're always associated with. So I don't think it's a problem, but we should specify somewhere that that is to clarify that somehow. I'm not sure where. We might do like a, I don't know, we may be able to reword it to make it more clear. But anyway, when you take on a bestial form using your class feature 1, you can spend an additional key point to grow a number of bestial limbs equal to your proficiency modifier. Oh wait, no. You can spend an additional key point. First off, we're going to say, no, yeah, an additional key point. I guess that was worded okay. To grow a to grow the chosen limb as an additional limb. Did I? Okay. Spend one key point to grow, or well, okay. 2 key points instead. Let's see, when you take on a bestial form using your class feature 1, you can spend 2 key points instead to grow the chosen, I don't know, maybe the original way that was worded was better. An additional key point to grow the chosen limb as an additional limb number. You can have additional limbs in this way equal to, oh, yeah, we already have equal to your proficiency modifier. I'm going to say extra limb because additional limbs didn't actually make as much sense grammatically. So yeah. Okay. When you take on a bestial form using your class feature 1, you can spend an additional key point to grow the chosen limb as an extra limb. You can have extra limbs in this way equal to your proficiency modifier. So you gain the abilities by taking on these things. You could theoretically have like 4 bare arms, for example, at this point. So you're becoming you're harnessing the power, but you're becoming a weird form. But also, this is mostly to be able to open up your avenue organically, open up your avenue into things like octopuses and, insects as well. You could become a giant insect. That is one thing, by the way, that we should consider is these limbs. Let's say you're like, I want to become a squid. I've never seen a giant squid before, but I do know what a regular squid looks like. I'm going to take on the squid's. I'm going to turn my arm into a squid's tentacle. Now my arm is the size of a squid's tentacle. So, yeah, let's see. We're going to say the limb is scaled to match, or the body part rather. Well, I guess I didn't have to erase all that. The body part is scaled to fit your body in size to be comparable to your own limbs. But the abilities, or but the essence of the beast remains. Doing so grants you abilities based on the beast's features. That way, you don't end up with tiny tentacles coming out of your arms whenever you take on a squid or octopus form, and you don't end up with an elephant's leg, the size of an elephant's leg. I mean, if you take on the full elephant shape, I think that once you reach, that should be one of the things that whenever you, which is what we would put up here, by the way, unarmed strikes. So we'd also put here, when you assume, let's see, when you replace all of your limbs, torso and head. with that of the beast, that of a beast, I don't know how to say the, of a single beast, you fully assume its form, growing or shrinking in size to match its natural growth pattern. Okay, when you replace all of your limbs, torso, and head with that of a single beast, singular, I believe is actually, would actually be more correct there. You fully assume its form, growing or shrinking in size to match its natural growth pattern. You use its stat. Okay, now I need to go look at Druid. This is something that I'm going to very loosely describe it here, and then I'm going to look at Druid. It's going to end up being very similar to taking on a form as a Druid, because I don't want to, and that's something else we do need to mention at some point here, that things you are wearing on that arm or leg absorb into it, or potentially you're continuing to wear it over it if it fits. Maybe say something like any equipment that would no longer fit or be fastened to the limb is absorbed into it rather than fall. Something like that. We'll see. But for now, we'll leave it as is. So this is a really complicated one. It's a lot more complicated than I expected it to become, because transformation is apparently very difficult. But it's not too difficult. It's definitely something that can exist, and I think will be really cool once we get it to where it's like working. It'll be really cool. This is, by the way, going to be the alpha build. If this ends up taking, like, we're already getting close to an hour. I usually do this for an hour, and so I'm probably going to be, pausing the creation of this and continuing it in 2 days. For me right now, it's 3 o'clock. I started at about 2:05, but I meant to start at 2. But basically, I usually stream at 2 on Tuesdays and 1 o'clock on Thursdays. And for me, my time. But my Twitch channel tells you the actual time. So Matt, if you're watching this, then you'll see that. And I'll send it in chat just in case you're not watching. I don't know. But anyway, so you use its stat. Okay. When you replace all of your limbs, torso and head, with that of a singular beast, you fully assume its form, growing or shrinking in size to match its natural growth pattern. You use its stat block. I don't know how they word it, but I'm going to say that. You use its stat block. Let's see. We could make you... no, that wouldn't make any sense. Let's see. Use its stat block as... or to determine your own abilities. No, I think you use its ability scores. I don't remember exactly how they word it. We're gonna, like I said, we're gonna word it wrong first. Use its stat block to determine your own abilities, and your hit points become, or its hit points become your hit points. While in this form. When your hit points are reduced to 0 in this form, your form, you transform back. Back into your normal form. That's another thing. We have not actually set a time limit on assuming those forms up there. We could make it to where it lasts an hour, and you can add an additional 2 hours by spending another key point, or we could make it last like 10 minutes. You can add an additional hour by spending a key point because the transformation costs something. It depends on how powerful it becomes. That's another thing. We have the cost of 1 key point. I want to keep it there because that's how you gain. That matches your key point growth and the cost factors that are involved in the main class. So so that's pretty well set. But the other limiting factors for this ability that we can play with, like I said earlier about the balancing act, is duration. The ability duration is a good limiting factor, as well as what I said earlier, which at the moment I don't remember what it was. I'm gonna rewatch the video, I'm sure, to remember, unless I unless I just remember on my own later. But anyway, when your hit points are reduced to 0 in this form, you transform back into your or you the form drops, I think is how the form drops, and you assume and your hit points return to that of to what it was to when you transform. I don't know what the actual wording in the druid is again, but that's what I did. You use its stat block to determine your own abilities, and its hit points become your hit points while in this form. When your hit points are reduced to 0 in this form, the form drops and your hit points return to what they were when you transformed. That works well enough. So this is like becoming a druid. It is like doing the druid transformation, and it costs 6 key points at least, because you got to take on you got to transform your legs and your torso and your arms and your head. So the beginning, it's expensive, and I think even impossible. You may be able to, theoretically, if your DM allows it, take on legs and head of a gorilla, and your hands and torso being human may be close enough that your DM might allow you to assume the form of a gorilla by just spending 3 points. But that would be something you'd have to talk to your DM about, because you're technically not assuming 3 of the forms you need. But okay, so now we got that. This one is we're going to try to cram in the next 2 features without them being perfect. So at 11th level, I hate how Word always does this. I think that I can go into a setting and change that to not do that, but I haven't actually gone looking yet. This is 10th. This is 2010, by the way. This is Word 2010, in case you're wondering. It is very old, but we're dealing with it. I also have a very old computer. It's like 11 years old at this point or something like that. It's crazy. Or no, it's from 2011, so it's 9 years old. So let's see, 11th level. But it was nearly top of the line back then, almost top of the line. Okay, it's 11th level. You can focus, or your ability to focus your key. To focus your key or harness your key, because that's what we said earlier. I like harness because you're turning into a beast. My full-time OB uses word. Yeah, exactly. So it's dealing with 2010 is at least an upgrade from 2003. Yeah. At 11th level, your ability to harness your key into an animal form. Or harness, let's see. We can't just say your animal form. grows. Yeah, beast harness, exactly. So that's why I was liking the that using harness as the ability, as the terminology here, even though I think that they say focus your key a lot in the original class and subclasses. I like harness here because beast. It's a silly thing. But your ability to harness your animal form grows to allow multiple or allow let's see, or sorry, to take on multiple, grows to take on multiple beasts simultaneously. I don't know if I'm right. Simultaneously, I don't know. Yeah, I put the U there and then I erased it. I just was trying to get to that E instead of the I because I was misspelling that. Let's see. At 11th level, your ability to harness your animal form grows to take on multiple beasts simultaneously. Beast forms. Or maybe we should say bestial forms. Forms simultaneously. You can mix, I'm assuming, let's see, when using, let's see, when you take on a bestial form using your class feature 1, you can, for now, I'm just going to say you can choose any number of beasts. Later, we may limit it. We may say it's your proficiency modifier, number of beasts, so you can't have, like, every limb be something different. But I don't know if that's really necessary. It would be really cool to basically turn into a Demogorgon with, like, a claw of a bear for one hand and tentacle of an octopus for the other hand, and then to grow an extra head because your class feature 2 allowed you to, and you've got like a polar bear head and I don't know, I think Demogorgon has horns, I think, so maybe a bull head, and you take on, I think it's got hooves, so you take on like bull-like legs like a minotaur, and I think it's like it's got like scaly torso that's all armored and stuff. I believe the Demogorgon. Oh, it's got Demogorgon has a single horn, I think, on one of its head, not two. So maybe a rhinoceros head, and then the torso maybe of a rhinoceros because it's armored in a beast. I don't know. There's a dragon, maybe a Komodo dragon. Komodo dragon would probably be a beast and not a dragon, which would be a shame. I think they should make a Komodo dragon be a dragon. But anyway, when you take on a bestial form using your class feature 1. You can choose a number of beasts you are familiar with. We could just say up to your, I don't think this would be really much of a limitation anyway. Up to your proficiency modifier. I was saying we wouldn't do that until later, but honestly, let me look at it. I believe your proficiency modifier here is like 4. It's 11th level, right? Yeah. So 11th level, it is 4. It's plus 4. So 4 different beasts. I mean, honestly, even if you did want to do what I was saying about the Demogorgon thing, you would be able to grow an extra head. You could make your legs be a bowl. Or you can leave your legs the same here immediately at 11th level. You can leave your legs the same, grow a tentacle arm, and then like a polar bear's arm, and then a rhinoceros head, extra head, and then you could have one more form, I guess a tail, because a Demogorgon I think has a tail, and so you could practically take on the form of a Demogorgon at 11th level right there. And at 20th level, I believe it's plus 6. Yeah, 20th level, it's plus 6. So you could pretty much transform every single part of your body and grow a head and a tail. Maybe it is limiting it, but I don't know. Well, up to your proficiency modifier feels like a good limitation, I think. I don't want it to become the most ridiculous class ever where you're doing silly nonsense, but at the same time, you could do silly nonsense even with the modifier limitation, the proficiency limitation. So, I don't know. What do you think? Let's see. While you're replying, because I know you're several seconds behind me due to the lag of Twitch, but but whenever you get that request of what do you think, and then can type it up and then send it back, I'll take a look at what you were saying, because that's I would like to see. Let's see, at 17th level. Now this is, I actually do, now that I think about it, I need to go look at 11th level and compare it to what monks usually get at 11th level. You can enter a special meditation that surrounds you with an aura of peace. At the end of a long rest, you gain the effects of a sanctuary spell that lasts until the start of your next long rest. Spell can end early as normal. Saving throw DC of your spell equals. Wow, I didn't know about that. Tranquility is awesome. Because sanctuary is fantastic. They have to succeed on a wisdom save to be able to attack you. The other one's the way of the shadow is Cloak of Shadows. By 11th level, you have learned to become one with the shadows. When you are in an area of dim light or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible. You remain invisible until you make an attack, cast a spell. Okay, so that's cool. That's a basic invisibility. So 11th level isn't super powerful, and it seems to be granting you abilities that just mostly help with your previous ones. So the way of the 4 elements allows you to choose 4 elements over the course of those level ups. And I don't see anything. Okay, yeah, ride the wind at 11th level require. Okay, and mist stance. Oh, flames of the phoenix. So you got a couple of different things that require 11th level. You can spend 4 key points to cast fireball. That's pretty powerful. 4 key points to cast gaseous form targeting yourself. 4 key points to cast fly targeting yourself. So there are some very interesting, powerful things that happen at 11th level here. But I think being able to mix and match bestial forms here will end up being pretty powerful, because you'll be able to be like, you know, a polar bear with wings. That's polar bears are scary enough as it is. That's one of the things that I'm talking about, is they don't have a lot of beast forms in the monster manual. I don't believe they have polar bear. They may have dire bear, which could be used as a polar bear easily. But then I feel like you need a dire polar bear. But yeah, this subclass may end up being released slightly later than it being finished on its own, because I may create a bunch of beasts and include them with it, like polar bear, because that's cool. Some things that add a little bit of extra uniqueness compared to what's in the book already, that also don't tread on the same idea as what's in the book. Like if it's already in the book, I don't need to make it. But something like a polar bear would just be something that'd be really cool to know. Do they have mammoths? I'll have to look through it all. Anyway, that may be something that comes with this supplement, is a bunch of new beasts that you can take on. You have extra limbs in this way equal to your proficiency modifier. I think we still have not limited to CR level whenever you take on this form here. And I realize that now, that if you spend 6 key points to transform your entire body, you can become a wolf, or you can become a dire bear. And I feel like we may need to limit CR level in some weird way there. We'll find out as we go. For example, we may be able to limit it to your proficiency modifier. Like your maximum is CR2 at first level, but you can't even do it at first level because you don't have 6 key points. So once you hit 6th level, your proficiency modifier is +3, and you could take on CR3 creatures or above. That may be a little bit much. We'll see. It might be something like a quarter your level, like I think druids do. I think a quarter your level. But anyway, yeah, so at 11th level, your ability to harness your animal form grows to take on multiple bestial forms. And then we have the 17th level, and that's the ultimate. And before we end today, I want to see if I can come up with something there, even if we end up rushing it and scrapping it later or something like that. So we've got Quivering Palm is the power level of the open hand one. So I guess because I don't know if you were here whenever I asked that question, I forgot even what the question was now. Oh well. If you were here, then you heard it, and you can answer it. If you weren't, then that's okay. Yeah, it's 17th level. I'm talking to Matt, by the way, about saying you. So at 7th level, you gain the ability to set up lethal vibrations in someone's body. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 3 key points to start these imperceptible vibrations, which last for a number of days equal to your monk level. The vibrations are harmless unless you use your action to end them. To do so, you and the target must be on the same plane of existence. When you use this action, the creature must make a Constitution saving throw. If it fails, it is reduced to 0 hit points. If it succeeds, it takes 10d10 necrotic damage. You can have only one creature under the effect of this feature at a time. You can choose to end the vibrations harmlessly without using an action. Interesting. That is very powerful. Very powerful. Wave of the Shadow. At 17th level, you can exploit a creature's momentary distraction when it is hit by an attack. Whenever a creature within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack made by a creature other than you, you can use your reaction to make a melee attack against that creature. Momentary distraction. That happens all the time. It's not once per day, and it's actually quite powerful. Opportunist. And then the 17th level elemental thing, I see 2. Eternal Mountain Defense. Oh, wait, no, Breath of Winter. I didn't see that one at the top there. And then River of Hungry Flame. Oh, Wave of Rolling Earth. I missed that one too. Cast a spell, cast Wall of Stone for Wave of Rolling Earth. 17, let's see, River of Hungry Flame, you can cast Wall of Fire. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. And then Stone Skin on a target. And then 6 key points to cast Cone of Cold. Cone of Cold is really powerful. Breath of Winter, that's a nice one. I'm very familiar with Cone of Cold, having thrown it at my players so many times. I'm sure they enjoyed it. Let's see, at 17th level, we're gonna say, so we know it's a high power ability. We know that you know, we never did. We never said that this costs an action or a bonus action. It's just spend a key point. This original class feature 1 doesn't seem to cost anything. You just do it. Let's see. You can spend. I'm thinking we're going to go back here and reword this sentence. You can spend a number of. Let's see. First off, we can say as an action, perhaps we'll call it that for now. We might be able to bring it down to a bonus action, but as an action, you can spend a number of key points equal to your proficiency modifier to transform transform body parts into that of the chosen beast. Let's see. To transform, I can say the same number of body parts or an equal number of body parts. So as an action, you can spend a number of key points equal to your proficiency modifier to transform an equal number of body parts, or the same number, actually. Transform the same number of body parts into that of the chosen beast. Now, is that going to make people think I'm saying the same number as your proficiency modifier or of your key points? Obviously, to me, it means key points, but that's about wording and the challenge of making something to be released online. I think it's okay for now. I'll look at that later because we're running out of time. We're already over time. I usually go to an hour. Let's see. At 17, so now we got to do 17th level. Now, okay, we may need to pause. I wanted to finish 17th level, but honestly, I want to go back and go over all of the main monk features because there may be some way to tie one of them in. For example, when you assume the full bestial form, will you be able to use all of your normal monk features, or will you be able to, or will you lose access to some or all of them otherwise, like the druid loses access to spellcasting, but then they regain spellcasting. At higher levels, they can cast spells in their beast form. So theoretically, we could do that here. We could also, but we can do it a little better. We could potentially grant the ability to, like, you take on a wolf's arm or even a wolf form. We could say, yeah, you're a wolf, but also at 17th level, you're a wolf, but you can also, for example, use your paws as if they have opposable thumbs and use weapons in wolf form for some or something to that ridiculous like that. Your monk weapons, for example, or maybe in your mouth, for example. But so while you're in your bestial form, even though you would not have opposable thumbs and be able to grasp items, you could still grasp items and use them, as if maybe you're now that you've mastered transforming into the animal. Now you can alter the animal to transform back slightly and gain your normal features, all of your normal monk features, and then some features that only humanoids have because they have opposable thumbs and hands and stuff. So you're slowly mastering your beast form until you are now better than even the beast form. You're assuming the beast form with your key and becoming one with it with the way of the beast, but then eventually you've mastered the beast form and remanipulated it back into something um, greater than man and beast. So that might be an interesting route to go. I think I would have to go over all of these features, and I think that that's going to take some time. So we may jump into that at the start of next episode, which would be in 2 days. Yeah, in 2 days, my time, 1 o'clock. I don't know what it's going to be in everyone else's time who would be watching this, but most likely it's going to be 1 o'clock and stuff like that. And if we have time next week, I'll start making some animals, some beasts. We have some. I have creatures and NPCs right here in my template. I have my own stat block I created. I added saving throws in case you need them, and spell slots to keep track of that you can write onto the character sheet as a DM. And so that's something that I felt was added some usability. But these beasts probably won't be using this, and if they die, they turn back into normal form, so they won't use that, so I'll end up deleting them. They won't be using saving throws or spell slots, probably. Yeah, so if we have time next time, we will go into that as well. But for now, that's the monastic tradition, the way of the beast. We got to do the 17th level. I'm going to write a note here for myself, at least, so that I don't end up forgetting in 2 days somehow. Sleep sometimes makes you forget stuff. That you may regain the ability to take on your monk powers while fully transformed. We also need to specify what happens when you transform all. If you can mix and match, right? Where was it? This one. At 11th level, you can mix and match. If you start to be able to mix and match at 11th level, what happens whenever you transform every part of your body into different animals? There's not a single form you can take on at that point. I think what we can either say you choose which of those to take on as your primary. I never actually finished that one, apparently. But I thought I did, but apparently not. When you take on the bestial form using your class feature 1, you can choose. I thought I did. Oh, there it is. It just moved to this because I added stuff up here in class feature 1. It just moved to there. A number of beasts you are familiar with up to your proficiency modifier. So we can say if you transform all your or your entire body, also, yeah, your entire body into a beast form or into a mixed beast form. You can either choose one of them to use its stat block and then gain the features of all the other ones, or we could limit you and say you must use the torso or maybe the head. I don't think you're definitely gonna. You may be able to grow more heads. I said limbs, and a head is not a limb. So technically, you're not allowed to grow heads the way I worded it already. But I like the idea of being able to grow a second head because of the idea of that I'll take on a pseudo Demogorgon form. Just because of that. There's no other real reason. But gaining two horn attacks at the same time would be cool. But basically, if we say it goes off the head, then maybe we can't let you grow another head. But if we say it goes off the torso, you're never going to grow a second torso. So to a mixed beast form. Oh, and by the way, that whole growing the size, the original reason I thought of that, or not that part, wherever it was up here, where the size becomes comparable to your own, that was originally because I was thinking insects. How do insects? Let's say you take on a insectoid wings, or which technically, according to the laws of physics, like bee wings wouldn't work if you make them bigger because of the way that they function. It's hard to explain, but like stingers and mandibles and things like that would be really cool to have, so you could deal poison damage and stuff. But you could only do that if you can take it if it's the size of an actual, if it would fit your body shape. So I think that's important. But anyway, if you transform your entire body into a mixed beast form, I'm gonna say you choose one of the beasts you have assumed to use, and use its stat block, and use its its monster stat block is actually the technical term, and I should have put it like that earlier. But yeah, and use its monster stat block with the additional features of all the other limbs or bestial limbs you have assumed. So if you transform your entire body into a mixed beast form, you choose one of the beasts you have assumed and use its monster stat block with the additional features of all the other bestial limbs you have assumed. So so yeah, basically, yeah, there we go. Now you can take on the bestial form. We'll go over really quick. Go over what we just did. Way of the Beast, Monastic Tradition, class feature 1, you can assume different forms and you gain different things. We didn't actually finish exactly what they do, but we got the idea across for now. We're going to go back over them with a better fine-tooth comb next episode. But we did do a good bit of description. We made your bestial attacks are considered unarmed strikes, and you gain and basically you gain the ability to where if you fully transform into the form, you become the beast. Between this episode, next episode, I might go over the druid if I have time and reword this to fit more with what the druid's transformation is and reducing the 0 and all that kind of stuff. Class feature number 2, we gained the ability to take on to grow new limbs to match what we are, based on what we have. So we don't have to. We're not limited to exactly its form. We may switch 6 and 11. That may be something we do at some point. If it makes more sense to be able to mix and match first, then you want to be able to, like, if it's like, oh, I can't, until you mix and match, growing additional limbs only is a minor upgrade. But that also gives it the effect of it being a minor upgrade, and then that makes 11th a more major upgrade because now you can mix like tentacles with wings and grab things, multiple creatures at once, grapple multiple different creatures and fly them up in the air and drop them or something like that. So that is really cool, and I think that effect being like, yeah, you get this and it's cool. Now you get this and this one's way cooler. So if we make it to where if we actually do that kind of thing, then I think that's a really cool growth pattern anyway. And it matches some of the other ones. So we may keep it like that, or we may switch it in the future. And we have the idea of 17th level, you may regain the ability to take on your monk powers while fully transformed. And that would be really cool. So in this way, we might also, because like imagine that's what That's what Matt was wanting originally, and maybe I've barred it behind 17th level being a bit of a limitation. You can already take on the form, but I may still keep some of these abilities. Like I would like to keep a lot of them, if not all of them, in all of the animal forms. I just don't want it to become too overpowered. Um, and you know, a polar bear being able to swipe someone with its claw, um, and then use its key to then gain, you know, to flurry of blows with its paws and with its bite attacks would become a little bit powerful. And so it might be something that has to unlock at 17th level, where you are a monk that's taking on the form and beating people up, but you're limited in how much you're taking on. And then once you take on all of the animal form, you're limited on what you can do as a monk. But then at 17th level, you get to mix them both. And you can take on the full form, you can take on mixed forms, and you can beat people up with all of your key points and flurry of blows and step of the wind and patient defense and all that kind of stuff. And that would be really cool. That would be a good flow of growth pattern, potentially, and that might be what we have to do to balance it, as a balancing act. But there were those other methods of balancing it we were talking about before, two different ways, where it's about the duration of the transformation, and the other one, which again I don't recall what it was still, but it was a good one, and it was at the very beginning of the episode that I talked about it. So I'll go back and review that. But anyway, 17th level, yeah, you may regain the ability to take on your monk powers while fully transformed. And that should be cool. I think this would be perfect. Another thing that might be cool is if it's not too overpowered to maintain those powers, I'm going to say, or you may be able to lash out with the spirit of the bestial form. I keep spelling it bestial with an A in there, BEA. Or you may be able to lash out with the spirit of your bestial form. So think Wolfang Fist from Dragon Ball Z, or any other number of things where someone would, you know, do a punch or a lash out with what looks like an attack, and but then, like, rather than hitting them, they just do it from a distance, and then suddenly this, you know, the form, the spirit of the wolf lashes out and flies toward the enemy and does like a sort of bite into them, and deals damage. That would also be really cool. We may be able to do that, or we might, but if it's not too overpowered, to let you use your key points in bestial form. I don't think it necessarily will be, because whenever you leave the form, you're going to be using your key points to transform in the first place. So you're spending your key points. You're spending 6 key points just to take on that form. You won't have a lot left to do a lot of those other abilities. And by the time you're at 17th level, if you were always able to, you're kind of already naturally getting to the point where you have 17 key points. So you can spend 6 to transform into the beast, or theoretically add limbs, and then now you're spending like 7 or 8 or something like that. And then you only have 10 points left, and there's maybe another fight this day, before you regain your key points, unless you gain them. Do you regain them during a short rest? Let's see, key, let's see, I always forget about that. Once you have, when you spend a key point, is unavailable until you finish a short or long rest. So yeah, you regain them at short rest. So you'll have it, and if you have to fight something else or use your key points for anything between now and the next short rest, that's going to be a thing. So, yeah, uh, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it is. Yeah. Anyway, we've gone 35 minutes over. I don't know if Matt Foreman's still here or not, but if not, you can watch it on YouTube or in the recordings here on Twitch to fully, um, catch everything up. We'll see you for next episode, because and where we'll come back in and finish this up a little bit better. Yeah, see you next episode in 2 days. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, cool. You're here. I was totally not stalling just to see if you'd had just to give you time to reply. Uh, anyway, so yeah, we'll finish up next in a couple of days and in 2 days, and we'll see where it goes and what we end up being able to do with this balancing act here. Yeah, so thank you very much for coming, and I'll see you next week, or not next week, 2 days, 2 days.